is a mountain that stands at the edge of the world, or at least, at the edge of the world as the ancients knew it. It is not merely a geological formation of granite and snow, though it possesses both in abundance. It is a threshold, a place where the air grows thin and sweet, smelling faintly of ozone and wild flowers that bloom only in the highest altitudes. This is Mount Olympus. But tonight, we are not here to witness the clash of armies or the toppling of titans. We are here to witness something far more human, and yet infinitely more grand in its scale. We are here to observe the glorious, thunderous, and eternal pettiness of the gods. For on these peaks, no grudge is too small to be immortalized, and no slight is ever truly forgotten. Before we let ourselves drift along the slow, golden flow of the past, if you find a sense of peace in this sanctuary of stories, please gently leave a like and subscribe to the channel, so that we may meet again in the historical dreams that lie ahead. And if you wish, whisper in the comments where you are resting tonight, for it is a comforting thought to know that we are all drifting together under the same canopy of stars. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you. Do not feel the need to close your eyes just yet. Instead, simply soften your gaze. Let the room around you blur into the edges of your vision. Imagine the light in your room dimming, matching the twilight hour that currently bathes the marble halls of Olympus. The sun is setting over the Aegean Sea far below, casting long, violet shadows across the cloud floor that serves as the foundation for the palaces of the gods. We begin our tour in the central hall of the king and queen, Zeus and Hera. To call them husband and wife is to simplify a relationship that is as complex as the weather itself. They are the original power couple, bound together not just by marriage, vows, but by the very fabric of the cosmos. Imagine them seated on their thrones. Zeus, the lord of the sky, sits relaxed, his bearded chin resting on a hand that has held lightning bolts capable of shattering mountains. His robe is the color of a stormy sky, shifting from deep indigo to the pale gray of rain clouds. Beside him sits Hera. She is magnificent. She is the goddess of marriage, and she wears her dignity like armor. Her throne is made of ivory and gold, and her robe is woven from the threads of the peacock, shimmering with iridescent blues and greens. The air between them is thick. It is not the silence of peace, but the silence of a held breath. It is the silence of a chessboard where every move has been calculated for centuries. Their marriage is a long, slow dance of power, infidelity, and retribution. Tonight, the subject of their silent tension is a woman named Io. Or rather, a creature that used to be a woman named Io. Let us drift back to the meadows of Argos, far below the mountain. Zeus, ever the wanderer, ever the seeker of new affections, had descended from the clouds. He had found Io, a priestess, a maiden of serene beauty. But the sky is never private when Hera is watching. She is the queen of heaven. She sees the shifts in the clouds. She senses the disturbance in the ether. Zeus, sensing the approach of his wife, did something impulsive. In a swirl of divine mist, in a panic of celestial proportions, he transformed Io. He did not turn her into a bird. which might fly away. He did not turn her into a tree, which might blend into the forest. He turned her into a cow, a heifer, snow white, with large, confused eyes and a coat as soft as velvet. Imagine the scene now. Hera descends from the sky. She does not arrive with a scream or a curse. She arrives with a smile. A cold, polite, terrifying smile. She lands in the meadow, her feet touching the grass without bending a single blade. She looks at her husband. She looks at the white cow. She knows. Of course she knows. But on Olympus, the game is played with words, not weapons. What a beautiful animal, Hera says, her voice smooth as polished marble. May I have it as a gift. Zeus is trapped. To refuse her would be to admit his guilt. To give her the cow is to condemn Io. He looks at the cow. The cow looks at him, letting out a low, mournful sound. Ma. Asterisk. It is a sound of confusion, of a human soul trapped in a bovine throat. Zeus, defeated by his own game, nods. He hands the tether to Hera, and here is where the pettiness becomes art. Hera does not kill the cow. That would be too simple. That would be too quick. Instead, she leads the white heifer away. She brings her to a grove of olive trees, a place of shadows and silence. And she calls for a guard. She does not call a soldier. She calls Argus Panoptes. Argus, the all-seeing. Imagine Argus. He is a giant, a being of immense strength. But it is not his size that makes him formidable. It is his eyes. He has 100 eyes. They are scattered across his body, on his head, on his neck, on his shoulders, on his arms. They are like gems, blinking independently. When Argus sleeps, he only closes 2 eyes at a time. The other 98 remain wide open, watching, scanning, observing. He is the ultimate jailer. He is the embodiment of paranoia. Hera leaves Io in the care of Argus. The white cow grazes on the bitter grass. She wanders to the edge of the grove, looking for a way out. But everywhere she turns, she sees an eye, an unblinking, watching eye. There is no privacy. There is no escape. The pettiness of Hera is absolute. She has trapped her rival in a form that cannot speak, guarded by a watcher who never sleeps. But the story does not end in the grove. Zeus, up on his mountain, feels a pang of pity, or perhaps just a bruised ego. He calls for Hermes. Hermes, the messenger, the trickster, the god of boundaries and the god of thieves. Hermes arrives with his winged sandals fluttering softly, like moths against a lantern. Go, Zeus whispers. Free her. Hermes descends. He does not bring a sword. He brings a flute, a set of reed pipes. He approaches the grove where Argus stands watch. The giant sees him coming from a mile away, literally. 50 eyes watch Hermes approach. 50 eyes watch the cow. Hermes sits down on a rock. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and orange. Hermes lifts the pipes to his lips. He begins to play. Listen to the sound of the flute in your mind. It is a high, breathy sound. It is the sound of the wind moving through the reeds of a riverbank. It is a monotonous, repetitive melody. It rises and falls, like the chest of a sleeping child. Toot. Whistle. Mime. Argus listens. At first, he is suspicious. His eyes dart back and forth. But the music is relentless. It is woven with the magic of sleep. It is a lullaby for the weary. Hermes plays on. He plays the song of the heavy eyelids. He plays the song of the setting sun. He plays the song of the long, dark night. Slowly, very slowly, the eyes of Argus begin to close. It starts with the eyes on his legs. They droop. The lids slide down, heavy as lead. Then the eyes on his back. Blink. Blink. Shut. Then the eyes on his shoulders. Hermes keeps playing. He does not rush. He lets the music drift through the air like a heavy fog. He tells stories in a low, droning voice to accompany the music. He tells stories of sheep counting sheep. He tells stories of nothing happening. Argus sways on his feet. The giant sits down. His head nods. The eyes on his face begin to flicker. Open. Close. Open. Close. The struggle is immense, but the fatigue is stronger. Finally, the last eye, the one in the center of his forehead, wavers. It holds out for a moment, staring at the white cow. And then, with a final, heavy sigh, it closes. Argus Panoptes is asleep. All 100 eyes are shut. The world is dark to him. Hermes stops playing. The silence in the grove is profound. In the original myths, this is where violence happens. But for us, let us focus on the aftermath, the transformation. Let us focus on the legacy of this feud. Hera discovers what has happened. She finds her watchman silent. She finds the cow gone. Her anger is a cold fire. But she does not destroy Argus's body. She is a goddess who wastes nothing. She looks at the eyes, the 100 sleeping eyes. They are beautiful in their own way, shimmering, iridescent, filled with the memory of sight. She gathers them up. She calls her favorite bird, the peacock. The bird is plain, brown and unadorned. Hera takes the eyes of Argus, and she places them, one by one, onto the tail feathers of the peacock. Imagine this transformation. The dull feathers burst into color. Emerald green, royal blue, gold. In the center of each feather, an eye appears. A dark pupil surrounded by a ring of iridescent blue, then a ring of gold. The peacock spreads its tail. It is a fan of 100 eyes. It shimmers in the twilight. It rustles with the sound of dry silk. Shh. Sure. Hera smiles. She has lost the cow. Yes. Io will wander the world, eventually returning to human form in Egypt. But Hera has kept the eyes. She has turned her surveillance into art. She has turned her jealousy into one of the most beautiful things in the natural world. Now, whenever you see a peacock spread its tail, you are looking at the ancient, petty feud of Olympus. You are looking at the eyes of the watchman who was lulled to sleep by a flute. You are looking at the vanity of a queen who refused to let a single grievance go to waste. The court of Olympus settles down for the night. The peacock roosts in the high branches of a celestial tree, its tail folded, a cascade of sleeping eyes trailing down towards the clouds. Zeus and Hera retire to their separate chambers, or perhaps they sit together, silent, bound by the eternal, stormy contract of their union. The white cow grazes in a distant field, dreaming of hands and feet, and the music of Hermes still lingers in the air, a faint, drifting tune that invites the world to close its eyes, just as Argus did. Drift on that music now. Let the image of the blue and green feathers fill your mind, the shimmering, hypnotic pattern, the eyes that watch over you, not to trap you, but to ensure that the story continues. The air on the mountain is cool. The stars are bright. The drama sleeps, but it never ends. Leave the high peaks of Olympus now. Let your mind descend from the clouds, floating down through the layers of the atmosphere, past the eagles circling on the thermals, down towards the rocky, sun-baked peninsula of Attica. We are traveling to a specific hill, a flat-topped crag of limestone that rises out of the dry plains. It is the Acropolis. But it is not the Acropolis of the Parthenon and the ruins we see today. It is the Acropolis of the mythical dawn. The stone is bare, hot to the touch, baking under the relentless Mediterranean sun. The city that surrounds this rock has no name. It is a collection of houses, of people waiting, of a destiny not yet written. It is a prize, and two gods have set their eyes upon it. It is a contest of patronage, a divine competition to see who will own the hearts and the altars of this new civilization. On one side stands Poseidon, the earth shaker, the lord of the deep. He smells of salt and brine. His beard is tangled like kelp. He holds a trident, a massive three-pronged spear forged by the Cyclopes. He is raw power. He is the crash of the wave and the rumble of the earthquake. On the other side stands Athena, the gray-eyed goddess. She wears armor, but her helmet is pushed back, revealing a face of calm, terrifying intelligence. She holds a spear, but she leans on it lightly. She is strategy. She is the loom and the law. She is the quiet voice of reason in a shouting room. The citizens of the city are gathered. The king, Cecrops, half man and half serpent, coils on his throne to judge the contest. The gods of Olympus watch from above, leaning over the balcony of clouds, like spectators at a slow-moving play. Poseidon steps forward first. He is confident. He is dramatic. He believes that what humans want is power. He believes they want spectacle. He raises his trident high above his head. The muscles in his arm cord like ropes. The sun glints off the bronze tips of the weapon. With a roar that sounds like a breaking wave. He brings the trident down. Asterisk, thump. The sound is deep, vibrating through the limestone rock of the Acropolis. It travels down into the roots of the earth. The ground trembles. A crack appears in the stone. From the fissure, water erupts. It shoots up into the air, sparkling in the sunlight, a magnificent geyser of liquid. It falls back down, pooling in a natural basin in the rock. It is a spring, a miracle. Water in a dry land. The people gasp. They rush forward. Water is life. Water is precious. They kneel by the pool. They cup their hands. They bring the water to their lips. And then they spit it out. It is salt water. Poseidon is the god of the sea, and he has given them the sea. It is majestic. It is impressive. It represents the dominance of the ocean, the potential for naval power, the bridge to distant lands. But you cannot drink it. You cannot water your crops with it. It sits there, glistening, beautiful, and fundamentally useless for a thirsty city. Poseidon stands back, chest heaving, looking proud. He does not understand the murmurs of disappointment. He has given them the ocean. What more could they want? Now, it is Athena's turn. She does not shout. She does not strike the earth with violence. She walks forward, her movements smooth and economical. She looks at the salt spring, and then she looks at a patch of bare, dry earth nearby. She kneels. The metal of her greaves clinks softly against the stone. Clink. Asterisk. She reaches into a pouch at her belt. She pulls out something small. It is a seed, or perhaps a pit. She presses it into the dust. She covers it with a handful of soil. She whispers a word, a sound that is lost on the wind. And then the waiting begins. Unlike Poseidon's instant geyser, Athena's gift takes time. But on the scale of myths, time is fluid. Slowly, silently, the earth begins to disturb. A tiny shoot of green pushes up through the dry crust. It is pale, silver green. It unfurls two small leaves. It grows. It does not explode upwards. It twists upwards. The trunk thickens, gnarled and gray, looking like it has already weathered 1,000 years of storms. The branches spread out, reaching for the sun. The leaves multiply, thousands of them, dark green on top, silver on the bottom. When the wind blows, the tree shimmers. It looks like a cloud of silver mist anchored to the ground, and on the branches, the fruit appears. Small, oval, green turning to black. The olive. The people stare. It is a tree. It is shade in a hot land. But it is so much more. Athena steps back and gestures to the tree. She explains, without a speech, the value of her gift. The wood of the olive tree is hard and dense, good for carving, good for building, good for fuel. The leaves of the olive tree are medicinal, a balm for wounds. The fruit of the olive tree is food, rich and sustaining. But the true treasure is the oil. Imagine the oil. Golden green, thick, pouring from the press. It is light. It fills the lamps that push back the darkness of the night. It is food it cooks, the meals and dresses the bread. It is hygiene. It cleans the body and acts as soap. It is ritual. It anoints the kings and the statues of the gods. Athena has not given them a spectacle. She has given them an economy. She has given them a way of life. She has given them civilization packaged in a small, bitter fruit. King Cecrops does not hesitate. He looks at the salt spring, drying already in the heat, leaving a white crust on the rocks. He looks at the olive tree, its leaves whispering in the breeze, promising centuries of oil and shade. The goddess wins. Aether glares. The city shall be named Athens. Now, we must deal with the pettiness. For a god does not lose gracefully. Poseidon's face darkens. The blue of his eyes turns to the gray of a winter storm. He is insulted. He offered them the world, and they chose a salad ingredient. His pride is stung. He raises his trident again. He does not strike the city directly. He is forbidden from destroying Athena's prize entirely. But he can make his displeasure felt. He turns towards the Thriasian plain, the fertile land surrounding the city. He summons the water, not a tsunami of destruction, but a rising, seeping tide. He floods the lowlands. It is a petulant act, a salty embrace that ruins the crops for a season, a reminder that while Athena may rule the rock, he rules the water that surrounds it. If you do not want my salt spring, he seems to say, then you shall have salt in your fields. It is a divine tantrum. But eventually, the water recedes. The salt washes away. The earth recovers. Poseidon retreats to his underwater palace, grumbling, perhaps plotting to delay the ship of a certain hero named Odysseus a few centuries later. But on the Acropolis, the olive tree remains. It stands there, ancient and twisted. It becomes the heart of the city. The Athenians build a temple around it, the Erechtheion. They leave a hole in the roof so the tree can always see the sky. And next to it, they keep a small well of salt water, honoring Poseidon too, just in case. Because the Greeks were wise, and they knew it is best to hedge your bets with petty gods. Imagine standing on that rock now. The sun is setting. The heat of the day is radiating up from the stone. You can smell the dust, the dry grass, and the faint, savory scent of olive wood. You can hear the cicadas, their rhythmic buzzing, a hypnotic drone that fills the air. Buzz. 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 The olive tree stands silhouetted against the purple sky. Its silver leaves turn black in the twilight. It is a symbol of patience, a symbol of the quiet victory of wisdom over brute force. The contest is over. The shouting has stopped. The gods have gone home. Athena sits in her high hall, polishing her helmet, a small smile on her lips. She knows that flash and thunder fade, but a tree that feeds the people will last forever. Poseidon sits in his coral caves, surrounded by silence and deep currents. He has forgotten the olive tree, or pretends to. He has other oceans to stir, other shores to batter, and the city of Athens sleeps, under the watchful gaze of the owl and the rustle of the silver leaves. The people rest, secure in the knowledge that they chose the gift that grows. Let the image of the gnarled tree anchor you. Let the sound of the wind in its branches soothe you. The roots go deep into the rock. The branches reach high into the air. It connects the earth and the sky. It connects the past and the present. The salt dries. The water recedes. The tree remains. Sleep now, in the shade of the olive. The contest is done. The prize is won, and the night is calm. The sun has set on the contest of Athens, and the olive tree stands silent in the moonlight. Now, we must leave the rocky coast of Attica and travel inland, towards the wild, mountainous heart of Arcadia. Here, the peaks are rugged, capped with snow even in the spring, and the valleys are deep bowls of shadow and mist. It is a place of secrets, and in one specific cave, deep within the side of Mount Cyllene, a secret has just been born. It is the dawn of a new day, but inside the cave, it is still dark. The air is cool and smells of damp limestone, sweet milk, and fresh swaddling clothes. In a cradle made of woven willow branches, a baby lies sleeping. Or so it seems. This is Hermes, the son of Zeus and the nymph Maia. He is not a day old. In mortal terms, he should be helpless, a bundle of soft limbs and basic needs. But Hermes is not mortal. He is the god of boundaries. And boundaries, even the boundaries of biology, do not apply to him. Watch him as he opens his eyes. They are not the vague, unfocused eyes of an infant. They are bright, sparkling with a terrifying, delightful intelligence. He looks around the cave. He sees his mother, Maia, sleeping deeply, exhausted by the birth. He sees the shadows dancing on the walls, and he feels something that gods rarely feel: boredom. He decides, in that quiet moment before the world wakes up, that he wants meat. He wants a feast, and he knows exactly where to get it. He unwraps himself from his swaddling bands. The linen falls away. He stands up. He is small, a toddler in form, but a trickster in spirit. He tiptoes to the mouth of the cave. The stone floor is cold under his small, bare feet. He steps out into the morning mist. The world is huge. The mountains tower above him. But Hermes is fast. He begins to move. He does not stumble. He flows over the ground like quicksilver. He travels north, towards Pieria, the grazing grounds of the gods. Specifically, the grazing grounds of his older half-brother, Apollo, the golden boy, the favorite son, the god of the sun and music. He owns a herd of sacred cattle. These are not ordinary cows. They are magnificent beasts. Imagine them. Their coats are the color of cream and honey. Their horns are tipped with gold. Their breath smells of sweet clover. They move with a heavy, divine grace, their bells chiming softly as they graze. Clank, clank, clink. Hermes arrives at the pasture. He hides behind a rock, peering out with his mischievous eyes. He sees the herd. There are 50 of them, 50 perfect, golden cows. He wants them, but he knows he cannot just drive them away. Apollo is the god of prophecy. He sees everything. Hermes needs a plan. He needs a trick so clever that even the god of truth will be confused. He begins to work. This is the pettiness of the genius. First, the tracks. If he drives the cows out, their hooves will point forward, leading Apollo straight to the thief. So, Hermes does the impossible. He walks among the herd, soothing them with whispers. He grabs their hooves. He physically turns the cows around. He forces them to walk backward. Imagine the scene. A baby god pushing massive golden cows backward, step by step. The hoofprints in the soft mud point towards the pasture, not away from it. To anyone tracking them, it will look like the cows walked times into times the field and simply vanished into the air. But what about his own feet? His tiny footprints would give him away. Hermes sits down under an oak tree. He gathers materials. He is inventing on the fly. He finds tamarisk branches, flexible and strong. He finds myrtle twigs. He strips the bark from a fallen tree. He begins to weave. Over. Under. Twist. Pull. He creates sandals, but they are not ordinary sandals. They are enormous, brush-like contraptions. They look like nests of twigs tied to his feet. They are gigantic wickerwork sandals. He straps them on. When he walks now, he does not leave footprints. He leaves strange, sweeping marks that look like the wind has brushed the ground, or perhaps like the tracks of a giant, formless monster. It is a masterstroke of confusion. He drives the herd backward. Step. Squelch. Step. Squelch. Asterisk. Through the night, he drives them. They cross sandy riverbanks. They cross grassy plains. The cows are confused, but they follow this strange, commanding child. He brings them to a cave by the river Alpheus. He hides them inside. The cows settle down in the darkness, chewing their cud, invisible to the world. Hermes, satisfied, hungry, and tired, returns to Mount Selene. He slips back into his cave through the keyhole, literally transforming into mist to pass through the lock. He wraps himself back in his swaddling clothes. He curls up in his cradle. He closes his eyes. He looks like a perfect, innocent cherub. But the sun rises, and with the sun comes Apollo. Apollo arrives at his pasture. He sees the empty field. The golden cows are gone. His face flushes with the heat of a solar flare. He looks at the ground. He sees the tracks. He is baffled. The hoofprints point times into times the field. The other tracks look like they were made by a centaur walking on brooms. It makes no sense. It is a riddle written in mud. But Apollo is also the god of truth. He asks a nearby bird, an old crow sitting on a fence. The crow, who sees everything, tells him a child born yesterday. He went that way. Apollo flies to Mount Selene. He storms into the cave. The air temperature rises instantly. The cool dampness evaporates. The cave fills with the blinding light of the angry sun. You, Apollo, roars, pointing a glowing finger at the cradle. You little thief, where are my cows? Hermes opens one eye. He yawns. A small, milky yawn. He looks at Apollo with wide, watery eyes. Cows, Hermes says, his voice a high, innocent squeak. Brother, I was born yesterday. I care about sleep and warm milk and my mother's toes. What is a cow? I have never seen one. Do they look like big dogs? I have feet as soft as flowers. How could I walk over the rough stones? He wiggles his pink toes for emphasis. Apollo is not buying it. But he is also furious that he is arguing with a baby. He picks Hermes up. He threatens to throw him into Tartarus. Tell me, Apollo demands. I know nothing. Hermes lies. And he lies so beautifully, so smoothly, that the very air seems to bend around his words. They go to Olympus. They stand before Zeus. The father of gods sits on his throne, watching his two sons squabble. On one side, the radiant, furious Apollo. On the other, the tiny, swaddled Hermes, clutching his blanket and looking pitiful. Apollo gives his testimony. He stole 50 cows. He drove them backward. He wears shoes made of branches. Hermes gives his testimony. Father, I am but a babe. I cannot even lift a spoon. My brother is bullying me. Zeus looks at them. And then, the king of gods throws his head back and laughs. He laughs until the mountains shake. He sees through the lie, of course, but he is delighted by the audacity. The sheer, petty brilliance of stealing a herd of cattle on your first day of life. Show him the cows. Hermes, Zeus commands, wiping tears of mirth from his eyes. Make peace. Hermes sighs. The jig is up. He leads Apollo to the cave by the river. He reveals the cows. Apollo is relieved, but he is still angry. He wants to punish the brat. He prepares to curse him, but Hermes has one last trick. The greatest trick. While hiding the cows, he had found a tortoise. A mountain tortoise with a beautiful, mottled shell. He had scooped it out. He had taken the intestines of a cow sacrificed earlier and dried them. He had stretched the gut strings across the hollow shell. He had added a bridge of reed. He pulls this object from under his arm. The first liar. He sits on a rock. Apollo watches, suspicious. Hermes strums the strings. Twang. The sound is unlike anything that has ever existed in the universe. Up until now, music was just the flute or the drum. This is resonance. This is harmony. The notes float into the air, clear as crystal, warm as honey. Hermes begins to play. He plays a song about the birth of the gods. He plays a song about the glory of Apollo. He sings of the sun, of the healing light, of the beauty of order. Apollo listens. His anger, which was a raging fire, begins to cool. It turns into wonder. The music enters his divine heart and unties the knots of rage. He has never heard anything so beautiful. He needs times this instrument. He is the god of music, yet he does not possess this sound. The music weaves a spell. It describes the rustle of the wind in the grass. It describes the flow of the river. It describes the silence of the stars. It is hypnotic. Hermes stops playing. The silence that follows is heavy and sweet. Apollo looks at the baby. He looks at the lyre. "Give it to me." Apollo whispers, "I will trade you the cows. Keep them. All 50. Just give me the music." Hermes smiles. A slow, sly smile. It is the first business deal in history. "Done," Hermes says. He hands over the lyre. Apollo takes it. His hands tremble slightly as he touches the strings. He strums. The sound fills the valley, richer and deeper than before, because now it is in the hands of the master. Hermes walks away. He has 50 golden cows. He has the respect of his brother, and he has established his place in the cosmos. He is the trickster. He is the one who bends the rules. And Apollo sits by the river, playing the lyre. He forgets the theft. He forgets the insult. He is lost in the music. Let the sound of that lyre fill your mind now. Imagine the notes plucking at the tension in your own body. Asterisk. Pluck. Pluck. It is a sound that vibrates in the chest. It is a sound that smooths the forehead. The cows are grazing peacefully again. The river flows. The sun shines. The feud is over, resolved not by war, but by a song. And the baby god sleeps in his cave, dreaming of his next invention, while the sun god plays a lullaby for the world. Drift on the notes. Drift on the melody. The music spirals up towards Olympus, joining the stars. You are safe in the harmony of the gods. The music of Apollo's lyre fades into the distance, becoming a faint, golden echo. Now, the atmosphere shifts. We leave the sunlit meadows and the clever bargaining of brothers. We enter a realm of deeper contrasts, of sharper lines and softer curves. We are witnessing the silent, eternal staring contest between two goddesses who represent the two most powerful forces in the human experience. On one side, there is the silver. On the other side, there is the rose. Artemis and Aphrodite. They do not fight with words. They do not fight with fists. Their feud is a feud of existence. They are like oil and water, like ice and fire. They cannot mix. They can only coexist in a tense, beautiful balance. Let us first step into the world of Artemis. Close your eyes and imagine the temperature dropping. You are entering a deep, ancient forest. It is night here, or perhaps a perpetual, shaded twilight. The trees are massive oaks, pines, and cypresses rising up like pillars of a cathedral. Their branches interlock high above, blocking out the sun, allowing only the pale, silver beams of the moon to filter through. The air is cold. It is a clean, biting cold that wakes the senses. It smells of damp earth, of pine resin, of cold mountain streams. and the metallic tang of frost. Walk through this forest. The ground is soft with layers of fallen needles. Asterisk, crunch. Hush, crunch. Hush. Asterisk, it is a quiet world. There is no idle chatter here. The animals, the wolves, the bears, the stags move in silence. And there, standing in a clearing, bathed in moonlight, is Artemis. She is tall, lean, and strong. She wears a tunic of simple saffron and silver, cut short for running. On her feet are sandals of soft leather. On her back is a quiver of silver arrows. In her hand, a bow of golden horn. She is the lady of the wild things. She demands nothing from you but respect and distance. She represents autonomy, solitude, the integrity of the self. She is the I am. In her world, there is no need for validation from another. There is no messy entanglement of emotions. There is only the clarity of the hunt, the purity of the cold water, the companionship of her nymphs who have sworn off the company of men. Feel the peace of this solitude. It is a cool, smooth stone in your hand. It is the feeling of being alone and being perfectly content. It is a safe harbor from the demands of relationships. But now, the scene shifts. The pendulum swings. We leave the cold forest. We step into a different light. The air warms up. It becomes heavy, humid, and intoxicating. We are entering the boudoir of Olympus, the sanctuary of Aphrodite. Here, the light is golden pink, diffused through curtains of gossamer silk. The floor is not earth, but polished marble, warm to the touch. The smell hits you instantly. It is an explosion of floral scent. Damask roses, heavy and sweet. Yasmin, blooming in the night. Myrrh and frankincense burning in braziers. The scent of warm skin, of honey, of ripe figs. This is the world of connection, of desire, of the we. Aphrodite reclines on a couch of velvet and clouds. She is soft, where Artemis is hard. She is curved, where Artemis is straight. She is smiling, a smile that promises everything and nothing. She represents the force that draws things together, the gravity of the heart, the chaotic, messy, wonderful storm of falling in love. In her world, there is no solitude. There is only the desperate need to merge, to touch, to be seen. The feud between them is silent, but deafening. Artemis looks at Aphrodite and sees weakness. She sees dependency. She sees a goddess who turns strong warriors into weeping boys. She sees the loss of self. Aphrodite looks at Artemis and sees a waste. She sees a cold, barren life. She sees a flower that refuses to bloom. She sees a denial of the fundamental rhythm of the universe. They do not speak to each other. They pass in the halls of Olympus like ships in the night. When Artemis enters a room, the laughter dies down. The air clears. The mood sobers. When Aphrodite enters, the air thickens. Eyes dilute. Breath quickens. Consider the tragedy of Hippolytus, the young man who was caught between these two millstones. He was a follower of Artemis. He loved the hunt. He loved the cold forest. He scorned the soft bed and the wedding garland. He built altars to Artemis and ignored Aphrodite. This, to Aphrodite, was the ultimate pettiness. It was an insult to her divinity. You cannot ignore gravity, she seems to say. You cannot ignore the rose. And so, she wove a tragedy. She made his stepmother fall in love with him. A tangled, messy, disastrous web of emotion. The very thing Artemis despised. The very thing Hippolytus feared. The result was ruin. A chariot crash by the sea. A broken body on the sand. Artemis appeared at the end. She did not weep. Goddesses do not weep like mortals, but she promised vengeance. I will strike down a favorite of hers, she vowed. A cold, calculated exchange. A life for a life. An arrow for a rose. It is a grim story, but let us pull back to the safety of the observation. Let us look at the balance. The Greeks understood that you cannot live entirely in the forest of Artemis, nor can you live entirely in the bed of Aphrodite. You need both. You need the cold, clear independence of the moon to know who you are. You need the warm, messy connection of the rose to know you are alive. The feud is eternal because the human heart is divided. We want to be free, and we want to belong. We want to be left alone, and we want to be held. Imagine the two goddesses now, at opposite ends of the mountain. It is twilight. Artemis is polishing her bow. Asterisk, swish. Swish. Asterisk, she looks up at the moon. She is calm. She breathes in the cold air. She is whole. Aphrodite is brushing her hair. Stroke. Stroke. Asterisk, she looks into her mirror. She smiles at her reflection. She is radiant. She is loved. The space between them is the space where we live. It is the tension that keeps the world spinning. Feel the rhythm of this contrast. Asterisk cold. Warm. Silver. Gold. Silence. Whisper. View pine. Rose. Let yourself drift between these two states. Float into the cool forest. Feel the frost on the leaves. Feel the clarity, the stillness, the safety of being untouchable. Then, float into the warm temple. Feel the softness of the petals. Feel the comfort, the embrace, the sweetness of being cherished, back and forth. A gentle rocking motion. The arrow flies true. The rose blooms red. Neither wins. Neither loses. They just times our asterisk. The pettiness of their feud has become the poetry of existence. They are the twin poles of the soul, and as the night deepens on Olympus, they both retreat. Artemis into the deep woods, followed by her silent hounds. Aphrodite into her soft clouds, attended by doves. The mountain is quiet. The tension relaxes into sleep. You are not required to choose tonight. You can have the peace of the forest and the comfort of the rose. You are safe in the balance. Sleep now. The hunters are resting. The lovers are dreaming. The gods are still. The sun chariot of Apollo has not yet been born. The moon chariot of Artemis has not yet risen. The sky of the ancient world is waiting. But on the high peak of Mount Olympus, the queen is not waiting. She is acting. We return to the golden throne room, where Hera sits. We have seen her transform a woman into a cow. We have seen her place eyes on the tail of a bird. But now, her pettiness reaches a geological scale. It expands from a personal vendetta into a curse that covers the entire map of the world. The object of her ire is Leto, a Titaness, a gentle, modest deity of the unseen, the dark nights, and the light of day. Leto is pregnant. She carries the children of Zeus. And Hera, the goddess of marriage, knows this. Hera does not scream. She does not throw things. She simply issues a decree. It is a masterpiece of legalistic cruelty. She raises her scepter, tipped with a lotus flower, and speaks to the earth itself. She speaks to Gaia, the grandmother of all. No land. Hera whispers, her voice echoing through the roots of the mountains and the silt of the riverbeds. No land that has roots in the earth shall offer shelter to Leto. No place that sees the light of the sun shall allow her to rest. No island, no continent, no rock that is fixed shall receive her children. It is a binding spell, a cosmic lockout. Imagine the weight of this curse. It settles over the landscape of Greece like a heavy, invisible fog. The mountains lock their passes. The valleys close their paths. The earth becomes hostile, not with violence, but with a stubborn, silent refusal. Leto begins her journey. She is the wanderer, the exile. Imagine walking in her footsteps. She is heavy with child, her body aching, her feet swollen. She descends from the heavens and touches the earth. She seeks a place to lie down, a place to breathe. She travels first to the lands of the north, to Thrace. The wind blows cold here, howling through the black pine forests. She approaches the mountains. Let me rest, she whispers to the rock. Let me bring forth my children here. But the mountains of Thrace tremble. They fear the wrath of Hera more than they pity the sorrow of Leto. The rocks seem to sharpen their edges. The paths become steep and slippery. The wind pushes against her chest, a physical hand shoving her away. Go. Go. You cannot stay. She turns south. She travels to the fertile plains of Thessaly. Here, the grass is soft and green. The rivers flow gently. It looks welcoming. But as she steps onto the grass, the earth hardens. The soft soil turns to baked clay under her feet. The rivers recede into their beds, hiding their water. The willow trees turn their branches away, refusing to offer shade. The land is obeying the queen. The pettiness of Olympus has seeped into the soil. Leto walks on. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. Time stretches out. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. She is in a perpetual state of exhaustion. This is the fatigue of the soul. The feeling of having no home, no sanctuary, no corner of the world where you are allowed to simply times be asterisk. She travels to the islands. Surely, the islands are freer. She goes to Crete, the great island of the old kings. But Crete turns its back. The cliffs rise up like fortress walls, offering no harbor. She goes to Chios. She goes to Miletus. She goes to Athens. Everywhere, the answer is the same. The spirit of the place rises up a dryad from a tree, a naiad from a spring, a genius of the mountain, and they shake their heads. Their eyes are sad, but their fear of Hera is absolute. We cannot. They whisper, if you give birth here, Hera will destroy us. She will turn our green fields to ash. She will dry up our springs. Move on, Leto. Move on. So she moves on. She becomes a ghost drifting across the map. She reaches the coast of the Aegean Sea. She stands on the shoreline. The waves lap at her feet. Hush. Crash. Hush. Crash. Asterisk. The sea is indifferent. The sea belongs to Poseidon, but the land belongs to the curse. She looks out at the horizon. The sun is setting, painting the water in shades of bruised purple and gold. She feels the movements of the children inside her. They are restless. They want to be born. They are gods of light and wildness, and they are trapped. And then she sees it. Far out in the water, there is a shape. It is not a large shape. It is a small, rocky outcrop. It looks barren and uninviting. It is moving. This is the island of Delos, or, as it was known then, Asteria. It is a strange anomaly in the geography of Greece. It is a floating island. It has no roots. It is not anchored to the seabed. It drifts like a piece of driftwood, bobbing on the currents, moved by the whims of the wind. Leto realizes the loophole. Hera's curse forbade any land that has time's roots asterisk. It forbade any land that is time's fixed asterisk. But Delos is not fixed. Delos is free. Leto calls out to the island. Her voice is weak, carried by the sea breeze. Asteria Delos, drifting one, will you harbor me? The island pauses in its drifting. It seems to listen. It is a poor island. It has no gold mines, no great forests, no rich soil. It is just a rock with a few palm trees and a lot of seagulls. It is lonely. The spirit of the island speaks. It is a voice like grinding stones and splashing water. I am afraid. The island says, they say your son will be a great god. A god of the sun. He will be powerful. He will despise my rocky soil. He will leave me and build his temple elsewhere. And then Hera will come and sink me into the depths. Leto makes a vow. She swears by the river Styx, the most unbreakable oath a god can make. I swear, she says, her voice gaining strength. If you let me rest, My son will build his first temple here. You will be the holiest of all islands. Pilgrims will come to you from the ends of the earth. You will never be lonely again. You will be rich with offerings. You will be the center of the Cyclades. The island considers. It bobs on a wave. Up, down, up, down. Come, the island says. Leto steps off the mainland. She transforms into a quail, a small bird, and flies across the water. She lands on the rocky shore of Delos. As soon as her feet touch the stone, a profound change happens. Poseidon, seeing the moment, decides to help. He is the lord of the earthquakes, but he can also be the stabilizer. He raises 4 great pillars of diamond from the floor of the ocean. They rise up through the dark water. They catch the floating island. Thud. Lock. For the first time in its existence, Delos stops moving. It is anchored. It is rooted not by nature, but by divine intervention. Asterisk. After times, the arrival of Leto. The loophole is closed, but the guest is inside. Hera, up on Olympus, watches this. She narrows her eyes. She sees the trick, but even she must respect the rules of the game. Leto found the one place that was not a place, but Hera is not done. She has 1 card left to play. Pettiness is a game of endurance. Leto lies down beneath the only tree on the island, a tall, slender date palm. Its fronds rustle in the sea breeze. Asterisk. Swish. Swish. Asterisk. She is ready. But the birth does not come. Hera has kidnapped Athena, the goddess of childbirth. She is keeping her on Olympus, distracting her with golden clouds and sweet nectar, preventing her from hearing Leto's cries. Without Athena, no child can be born. Leto waits. The pain is there, but the release is not. It is a state of suspended agony. 1 day passes. The sun rises and sets over the sea. 2 days pass. The seagulls circle overhead, crying. 3 days pass. 9 days pass. Imagine the slowness of those 9 days. The island is silent, save for the wind and the sea. The other goddesses, Athena, Demeter, Aphrodite, they gather on the island. They want to help, but they cannot perform the task of the midwife. They can only wash Leto's brow with cool water. They can only offer her ambrosia to keep her strength up. They decide to bribe the helper. They send Iris, the messenger of the rainbow, to Olympus. Iris flies on wings of multicolored light. She finds Athena. She whispers the offer, a magnificent necklace of gold and amber, 9 yards long, woven with threads of destiny. Athena, who loves beautiful things, cannot resist. She slips away from Hera. She descends to Delos like a dove. The moment Athena steps onto the island, the knot is untied. Leto kneels by the palm tree. She grips the trunk. The rough bark presses against her hands. She pushes, and then the release. Artemis is born first. The moon, the silver light. She slips into the world without pain, for she is the goddess who makes things easy. She is born fully aware, fully capable, and immediately she turns to help her mother, a baby midwife assisting in the birth of her twin. Then comes Apollo, the sun, the golden light. When Apollo is born, the island of Delos transforms. The gray rocks turn to gold. The water in the bay turns to silver. The date palm bursts into fresh fruit. The air is filled with a sudden, overwhelming scent of ambrosia. Swans fly in circles overhead, singing, not honking, but singing like flutes. The pettiness of Hera has been defeated, not by war, but by persistence, by finding the quiet spot, by enduring the 9 days of waiting. Hera sits on her throne. She feels the shift in the balance of power. The twins are here. She has lost this round, but she does not rage. She simply folds her hands. She accepts the new reality. The game has changed, and she will have to find new ways to be difficult. But down on Delos, there is only peace. Let your mind rest on that island now. Imagine you are there. The ground is solid beneath you, the diamond pillars holding it firm against the currents of the deep. The air is warm and smells of sea salt and dates. The baby gods are sleeping. The mother is resting. The palm tree casts a long, cooling shadow. The water laps against the shore, a gentle, rhythmic lullaby. Hush. Wash. Hush. Wash. You are on the floating island that found its home. You are in the sanctuary that exists between the rules. The anger of the queen is far away, up in the clouds. It cannot touch you here. Here, there is only the sea, the stone, and the new light. Feel the gentle bobbing sensation of the memory of the island. It is a rocking motion, like a cradle, rocking. Rocking. You are safe. You are anchored. You are at rest. From the floating peace of Delos, we must now turn our gaze back to the mainland, to the solid, heavy, enduring body of the Peloponnese. We leave the salt spray of the open ocean and travel inland, deep into the heart of the high country. This is Arcadia. It is a land of oak forests and limestone peaks, of hidden valleys where the mist lingers until noon, and of grassy plateaus where the sheep and the wild horses graze in the silence of the clouds. Here, the air smells different. It does not smell of iodine and brine. It smells of humus. It smells of dry grass baking in the sun. It smells of the rich, dark, fertile soil that crumbles between the fingers. This is the domain of Demeter, the barley mother, the bringer of seasons. She is not a goddess of vanity like Aphrodite, nor a goddess of cold strategy like Athena. She is the earth itself. She is the heavy, golden head of the wheat stalk. She is the warmth of the bread coming out of the oven. She is the gravity that holds the roots in the ground. Her life is a life of rhythm, sowing, growing, reaping, resting. It is a predictable, comforting cycle. She loves the order of the fields. She loves the boundaries, But there is another force in the universe that hates boundaries. A force that constantly seeks to erode, to encroach, to overwhelm. Poseidon, the earth shaker, the lord of the deep. We have seen him lose the contest for Athens. We have seen his salt spring dry up. But his ambition is as endless as the tide. He turns his eyes away from the cities of stone and looks towards the fields of grain. He looks at his sister, Demeter. He does not see her as a sister. He sees her as a challenge. He sees the dry land as something that needs to be flooded. He sees the stillness of the earth as something that needs to be shaken. He begins to pursue her. It is not a courtship of flowers and poetry. It is a pursuit of elemental pressure. Imagine standing on a beach. You see the wave coming. It rises up, a wall of green water, topped with white foam. It crashes down. It rushes up the sand, reaching for your feet. You step back. The water recedes. But then, another wave comes, and another, and another. Relentless, tireless. That is Poseidon. Demeter feels his presence. She feels the ground tremble beneath her feet. She hears the roar of the ocean, even when she is miles inland. She feels the dampness in the air, the sticky salt residue on the leaves of her crops. She is tired. She does not want to fight. She does not want drama. She wants peace. She wants to be left alone to tend her harvest. So, she decides to hide. She walks into the wild hills of Arcadia. She looks for a place where the sea cannot reach. She finds a herd of wild horses grazing in a meadow near the river Ladon. The horses are beautiful creatures, strong, skittish, with coats the color of chestnuts and charcoal. They move together, a single organism of muscle and instinct. Demeter makes a choice. To escape the god, she will become the beast. Imagine the transformation. It is not a painful twisting of bones. It is a sinking into a different state of being. She lowers her center of gravity. Her skin thickens, growing a coat of coarse, warm hair. Her hands and feet harden, turning into hooves of solid keratin. Her neck lengthens. Her ears grow tall and sensitive, swiveling to catch the sound of the wind. She becomes a mar. She is large, black as the fertile earth at night. Her mane is a tangle of darkness. Her eyes are large, brown pools of liquid silence. She steps into the herd. The other horses accept her. They smell the earth on her. They sense her power, but it is a calm power. She lowers her head. She begins to graze. Asterisk, crunch. Tear. Crunch. Tear. The sound of horses eating is one of the most peaceful sounds in the world. It is a rhythmic tearing of grass, a slow, grinding, chewing. Demeter loses herself in the rhythm. She forgets the names of the gods. She forgets the politics of Olympus. She becomes simply a creature of the meadow. She feels the sun on her back. She feels the flies buzzing around her tail. She feels the solid thud of her hooves on the turf. She thinks she is safe. She thinks she has disappeared. But Poseidon is the lord of horses. He created the first horse from the sea foam. He knows the shape. He knows the mind of the stallion. He finds her. He does not need eyes to find her. He senses the disturbance in the natural order. He senses the goddess hiding in the beast. He transforms himself. He becomes a stallion. He is massive, blue-gray, like a storm cloud, with a mane like foaming water and hooves that strike sparks from the flint stones. He enters the meadow. The herd scatters, sensing the predator, the power. But the black mare does not run. She cannot run. She is rooted by her nature. We will not linger on the violence of the encounter. The myths are often cruel, reflecting the harsh realities of the ancient world. Let us view it as the collision of two massive weather fronts. The storm meets the mountain. The wave meets the cliff. It is inevitable. It is heavy. It is a thunderclap in the valley. When it is over, Poseidon leaves. He flows back to the sea, his ego satisfied, his nature fulfilled. He leaves behind a silence that is heavier than before. Demeter remains. She transforms back into her goddess form. But she is changed. She is no longer the benevolent mother of the grain. She is the black Demeter. Demeter Erinis, the fury of the earth. She walks to the river Ladon. She washes the salt from her skin. She washes the memory of the sea from her hair. But the water cannot wash away the anger. It is not a hot, screaming anger. It is a cold, implacable depression. It is the withdrawal of life. She finds a cave, a deep, dark fissure in the side of Mount Olympus. It is a place where the sun never reaches. It smells of damp stone and bat wings. She walks inside. She sits down in the darkness. She pulls her black cloak over her head. She closes her eyes, and she turns off the world. Imagine a light switch being flicked off. Outside the cave, the effect is instantaneous and terrifyingly slow. The connection between the goddess and the earth is severed. The energy that pushes the sap up the tree trunks stops. The energy that opens the flower buds stops. The great withering begins. Look at the fields of Arcadia. The green grass loses its luster. It turns pale, then yellow, then brown. It becomes brittle. The wind blows, and the grass snaps. Snap. Rattle. Look at the trees. The leaves curl up. They dry out. They fall from the branches, not in the gentle drift of autumn, but in a sudden, exhausted surrender. The trees stand bare, their skeletal limbs scratching at the gray sky. Look at the rivers. The water level drops. The streams trickle to a halt. The mud dries and cracks, forming a mosaic of thirsty tiles. The birds stop singing. Why sing when there are no seeds? They huddle in their nests, feathers puffed out against the cold. The animals stop breeding. The life force of the planet has gone into hibernation. It is a famine. Yes, but for the purposes of our journey tonight, let us see it as a great sleep. The earth is tired. The earth has been used, plowed, harvested, and now violated. It needs to rest. It needs to stop producing. It needs to stop giving. Demeter sits in her cave, and her silence commands the silence of the world. Hush. No wheat grows. No barley rustles. No grapes swell on the vine. The markets are empty. The altars are empty. The people cry out to the gods. We are hungry, the earth is dead. The prayers rise up to Olympus like smoke. Zeus sits on his throne, and he sees the problem. The offerings have stopped. The gods need the worship of mortals, and mortals cannot worship if they are starving. Zeus sends Iris, the rainbow messenger. She flies to the cave. Her wings light up the darkness. Demeter, she calls. Come back. Zeus commanded. The world needs you. Demeter does not look up. I do not care, she whispers. Her voice is the sound of dry leaves skittering on stone. Zeus sends the other gods. They come one by one. Athena with her wisdom. Artemis with her wildness. Apollo with his music. They offer gifts. They offer honors. They beg. Demeter ignores them. She is mourning her dignity. She is mourning her autonomy. She is holding the line. She is the immovable object. Finally, the realization comes to the gods. They cannot force the earth to bloom. They cannot command the seed to sprout. They must respect the grief. They must respect the pause. It is only when the balance is acknowledged, when the trauma is validated, that the shift can happen. Legend says that it was not power that brought her back, but a moment of humor, or perhaps the simple passage of time. Or perhaps it was the realization that, while Poseidon is the sea, she is the land, and the land must endure. She rises from the cave. She steps out into the light. She is still dressed in black. Her face is still pale, but she raises her hand. It is a small gesture. She points a finger at a dead fig tree. A single green leaf unfurls. Asterisk, crinkle. Stretch. It is the beginning of the return. But it is a different earth now. It is an earth that knows winter. It is an earth that knows it does not have to bloom all the time. It has learned the power of saying no. Demeter looks towards the sea. She draws a line in the sand. You stay there, she says to the ocean, and I will stay here. The separation is final. Poseidon stays in his depths. He does not cross the line again. He has learned that the earth can shut down. He has learned that without the grain, the sea has no one to sail on it. The season of winter is born from this feud. It is the time when Demeter remembers. It is the time when the earth sleeps, protected by the cold, safe from the demands of growth. Let yourself sink into that winter feeling now. The feeling of the great sleep. Imagine you are a seed, deep underground. The soil around you is cool and dark. You are protected. You do not have to grow yet. You do not have to reach for the sun yet. You can just rest. The world above is silent. The snow covers the fields, a white blanket of peace. The wind howls, but you are safe in the cave of the earth. Demeter watches over you. She is the guardian of the rest. She understands the need to withdraw, She understands the power of the dark. The feud is over, resolved by a stalemate of silence. The sea roars, but the earth ignores it. The waves crash, but the cliff does not move. Feel the stability of the ground beneath you. It is solid. It is heavy. It is unshakable. You are part of the earth. You are part of the pause. There is nothing to do. There is nothing to produce. There is only the quiet, dark, restful winter of the soul. Sleep now. The harvest will come in its own time. But for tonight, the fields are empty, and the world is still. The winter of the earth has thawed. The green leaf has returned to the fig tree. The rhythm of the seasons has been established. But now, we move from the vast, outdoor spaces of mountains and oceans to a smaller, more intimate setting. We move indoors. We enter a room filled with the scent of raw wool, dried lavender, and the sharp, metallic tang of dye vats. We are in the region of Lydia, in a small, humble village. It is a quiet place, far from the grand temples of Athens or the wild forests of Arcadia. Here, life is measured not by the cycles of the moon, but by the rhythm of the loom. Listen closely. Can you hear it? Click. Clack. Swish. Thump. Click. Clack. Swish. Thump. It is the heartbeat of the weaver. It is the sound of thread becoming cloth. It is the sound of chaos being ordered into pattern. In this workshop sits a young woman named Arachne. She is not a princess. She is not a nymph. She is a mortal, with hands stained purple from the dye of the murex snail, and fingers roughened by the friction of the flax. She sits at a great, upright wooden loom. The sun streams in through the window, illuminating the dust motes that dance in the air, tiny fibers of wool floating like microscopic stars. Arachne is weaving, and when she weaves, the world stops to watch. It is said that the nymphs leave their streams and their vineyards just to stand at the window and observe her hands. Her hands do not move like human hands. They move like water flowing over stones. They move like birds building a nest. They are a blur of efficiency and grace. She picks up the shuttle, the wooden boat that carries the weft thread. She throws it through the shed of the warp. Asterisk, swish. Asterisk, it flies across the loom. She catches it on the other side. She pulls the beater towards her to pack the thread tight. Asterisk, thump. Asterisk, swish. Thump. Swish. Thump. The fabric grows. It is not just cloth. It is a miracle. It is so fine, so sheer, that it looks like woven mist. It ripples like a liquid. The people of Lydia whisper. They say, surely she was taught by Pallas, Athena. Surely the goddess of wisdom guided those fingers. No mortal could learn this alone. But Arachne hears them, and she stops. She rests her hands on the wooden bar of the loom. She looks up. Her eyes are proud. Not angry, just certain. I learned this myself, she says to the empty air. I sat here for 10,000 hours. I untangled the knots. I mixed the dyes. Athena did not help me. If she thinks she is better, let her come. Let her match her skill against mine. It is the fatal sentence. The pettiness of the gods operates on a hair trigger. You can be rich. You can be beautiful. You can be strong. But you cannot claim to be times better times than the god of your craft. High on Olympus, in the hall of weavers' beams, Athena hears. Athena is the gray-eyed goddess. She is cool, logical, and precise. She does not fly into a hot rage like Ares. Her anger is a cold, calculated thing. It is the chill of a shadow falling over a sunny room. She descends. She does not arrive in armor, crashing through the roof. She arrives as a test. She transforms herself into an old woman. She bends her back. She grays her hair. She takes a wooden staff. She hobbles into Arachne's workshop. The door creaks. Creak. Girl, the old woman croaks. Her voice sounds like dry leaves scraping together. Listen to the wisdom of age. You are talented. You are great among mortals. But do not challenge the goddess. Ask for forgiveness. She is stern, but she may be merciful. Arachne does not look up from her work. Click. Clack. Asterisk. She throws the shuttle. Save your breath. Old mother. Arachne says softly. I know what I know. My hands are my own. If Athena is so great, why is she hiding? Let her come down. I am not afraid. The air in the workshop changes. The dust motes stop dancing. The light shifts from the warm yellow of the sun to a cool, in brilliant, terrifying, steel gray. The old woman stands up straight. The staff falls away. The gray hair turns to a helmet of burnished gold. The rags turn to robes of dazzling white silk. Athena stands, revealed. She is taller than the loom. She radiates a power that makes the air hum. The nymphs at the window scream silently and dive back into the water. The women of Lydia bow their heads to the floor, but Arachne does not bow. She stands up. Her face is pale, but her hands are steady. She looks the goddess in the eye. You are here. Arachne says, I am here. Athena replies. Her voice is the sound of a sword being drawn from a scabbard. You asked for a contest. You shall have it. They set up the looms. Two great frames, standing side by side. Two chairs. Two piles of the finest wool, dyed in colors that would make a rainbow look dull. The contest begins. There is no judge but the silence. There is no time limit but the endurance of the soul. Athena sits straight, her posture perfect. She begins to weave. Her style is the style of order. She weaves the glory of the gods. Look at her tapestry. It is forming before your eyes. In the center, she weaves the 12 Olympians sitting on their thrones. They look majestic. Zeus with his thunderbolt, Hera with her peacock, Poseidon with his trident. They are regale, untouched, perfect. Their skin glows with thread of gold. Their eyes are knots of sapphire. In the four corners of the tapestry, Athena weaves four smaller scenes. They are cautionary tales. They are scenes of mortals who challenged gods and were punished. She weaves King Hermes and Queen Rhodope turned into mountains. She weaves the pygmy queen turned into a crane. It is a masterpiece of propaganda. It is beautiful, yes, but it is cold. It says times obey. Submit. We are above. You are below. The sound of Athena's loom is precise. Snap. Click. Snap. Click. Asterisk. It is the sound of a machine. Now, look at Arachne. She is hunched over her work. Intense. Passionate. Her hair falls over her face. Her fingers are a blur. She is using the same wool, the same loom, but she is weaving a different story. She weaves the truth, the gossip, the pettiness. She weaves the stories we have heard tonight. She weaves Zeus, transforming into a white bull to carry away Europa. The bull is so lifelike you can see the steam of its breath, the ripple of its muscles under the white fur. She captures the look of fear and wonder in the girl's eyes. She weaves Zeus as a swan, descending on Leto. The feathers are woven with silver thread, soft and shimmering. She weaves Poseidon, disguised as a stallion, chasing Demeter. She captures the dust of the running hooves, the wildness of the chase. She weaves Apollo as a shepherd, hiding his divinity. Her tapestry is not about glory. It is about life. It is about the messy, chaotic, passionate intersection of the divine and the mortal. It is full of movement. The water in her tapestry looks wet. The wind looks like it is blowing the fabric. It is soft. It is breathing. Asterisk. Swish. Flow. Swish. Flow. Hours pass. Or perhaps days. In the timeless space of the contest, the sun does not move. Finally, it is done. They step back. Athena looks at her own work. It is flawless. It is a perfect representation of authority. Then, she turns to Arachne's loom. She steps closer. She wants to find a mistake. She wants to find a loose thread, a dropped stitch, a color that bleeds. She scans the fabric with her gray, microscopic vision. She searches and searches, but there is no flaw. Arachne's work is perfect. Not only is it technically perfect, but it is times alive, times in a way that Athena's is not. The bull seems ready to bellow. The swan seems ready to fly. The water seems ready to spill onto the floor, and the subject matter. It is true. It holds a mirror up to the gods and shows them not as statues, but as actors in a petty drama. Athena feels a sensation she has never felt before. Envy. It is a hot, tight knot in her chest. A mortal girl has mocked them, and she has done it with a skill that rivals the divine. The pettiness of the goddess boils over. It is not a thunderous rage. It is a sharp, destructive spite. Athena raises her shuttle made of heavy boxwood. She strikes. Ririp. She tears Arachne's tapestry from top to bottom. The beautiful bull, the swan, the stallion, they are rent asunder. The threads snap. The image dissolves into chaos. She strikes Arachne on the forehead. Tap. 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 Asterisk. 3 times. It is not a blow to kill. It is a blow to shame. Arachne stumbles back. She looks at her ruined work, her masterpiece, destroyed in a second of jealousy. She looks at the goddess. She sees the cold, gray eyes. She realizes the truth times you cannot win against power. Even if you are right, you cannot win. The shame floods her. She cannot bear it. She grabs a rope. She throws it over the beam of the high ceiling. She ties a noose. She wants to silence herself. She wants to leave this world where truth is punished. But Athena watches. And in that moment, a strange mixture of pity and cruelty enters her heart. No, Athena whispers, "You shall not die. That is too easy. You want to weave, you shall weave." She sprinkles the juices of the aconite herb onto the hanging girl. "Live," Athena commands. "But hang forever. Weave forever." Be the warning. Now, watch the transformation. It is not gross. It is a condensing, a shrinking. Arachne's hair falls away. Her nose and ears vanish. Her head shrinks until it is a tiny black bead. Her body rounds out, becoming a bulb of dark velvet. Her fingers, her beautiful, nimble fingers, they do not disappear. They lengthen. They become thin and hairy. They multiply. 2 arms become 8 legs. They attach to her sides. She is shrinking. Smaller, smaller, until she is no bigger than a thimble. The rope she was hanging from transforms too. It becomes a single, incredibly thin strand of silk. She is no longer a girl. She is a spider. The first spider. She drops from the beam, suspended by her own thread. She dangles there, spinning in the gentle air currents of the workshop. Athena turns and leaves. She vanishes in a shimmer of light, returning to Olympus, leaving the silence behind. But look at the spider. Look at Arachne. She does not weep. Spiders do not weep. She does not mourn her lost humanity. She has work to do. She climbs back up her thread. She finds a corner where the ceiling beams meet the wall. A quiet, dark, dusty corner. She begins to spin. Watch her work. It is the same movement as before, but internalized. She pulls the silk from her own body. It is stronger than steel, lighter than air. She casts a line. Zip. Asterisk. It sticks to the wood. She walks across it, testing the tension. It hums like a harp string. She builds the frame. A triangle. The strongest shape. Then she builds the radii, the spokes of the wheel. She moves from the center out. Center out. Precise. Mathematical. Perfect. Then she begins the spiral. The sticky thread. She moves round and round. inward, tighter and tighter. Spin. Wait. Spin. Wait. She creates a web. It is a masterpiece of geometry. It catches the light from the window. It looks like a net made of diamonds and glass. She sits in the center. She waits. She is still weaving. She is still creating. But now, she is safe. She is small. She is unnoticed. She does not need the applause of the crowd. She does not need the approval of the gods. She has her corner. She has her silk. She has her silence. Athena took her voice, but she could not take her art. Let your mind drift into that corner now. Imagine the peace of the spider, the patience, the ability to sit absolutely still for hours, for days. The workshop is quiet. The loom stands empty, covered in dust. But high above, in the shadows, the weaving continues. It is a hypnotic, repetitive motion, round and round. The pettiness of the gods has created something eternal. Every time you see a spider web glistening with morning dew, you are seeing the legacy of Arachne. You are seeing the persistence of talent. Let yourself become small. Let yourself become light. Imagine you are suspended in a hammock of silk. You are floating in the air. The web holds you. It is flexible and strong. You rock gently, back and forth. The world of men and gods is far away, down on the floor. You are up in the rafters. You are in the sanctuary of the shadows. There is nothing to do but spin. Nothing to do but wait. The thread is endless. The rest is deep. Sleep now, little weaver. The contest is over. You have won the quiet. The spider spins her web in the shadows of the mortal world. The olive tree grows its slow rings on the Acropolis. The peacocks fan their tails, and there is a mountain that stands at the edge of the world. Or at least, at the edge of the world as the ancients knew it. It is not merely a geological formation of granite and snow, though it possesses both in abundance. It is a threshold, a place where the air grows thin and sweet, smelling faintly of ozone and wild flowers that bloom only in the highest altitudes. This is Mount Olympus. But tonight, we are not here to witness the clash of armies or the toppling of titans. We are here to witness something far more human, and yet infinitely more grand in its scale. We are here to observe the glorious, thunderous, and eternal pettiness of the gods. For on these peaks, no grudge is too small to be immortalized, and no slight is ever truly forgotten. Before we let ourselves drift along the slow, golden flow of the past, if you find a sense of peace in this sanctuary of stories, please gently leave a like and subscribe to the channel, so that we may meet again in the historical dreams that lie ahead. And if you wish, whisper in the comments where you are resting tonight, for it is a comforting thought to know that we are all drifting together under the same canopy of stars. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you. Do not feel the need to close your eyes just yet. Instead, simply soften your gaze. Let the room around you blur into the edges of your vision. Imagine the light in your room dimming, matching the twilight hour that currently bathes the marble halls of Olympus. The sun is setting over the Aegean Sea far below, casting long, violet shadows across the cloud floor that serves as the foundation for the palaces of the gods. We begin our tour in the central hall of the king and queen. Zeus and Hera. To call them husband and wife is to simplify a relationship that is as complex as the weather itself. They are the original power couple, bound together not just by marriage, vows, but by the very fabric of the cosmos. Imagine them seated on their thrones. Zeus, the lord of the sky, sits relaxed, his bearded chin resting on a hand that has held lightning bolts capable of shattering mountains. His robe is the color of a stormy sky, shifting from deep indigo to the pale gray of rain clouds. Beside him sits Hera. She is magnificent. She is the goddess of marriage, and she wears her dignity like armor. Her throne is made of ivory and gold, and her robe is woven from the threads of the peacock, shimmering with iridescent blues and greens. The air between them is thick. It is not the silence of peace, but the silence of a held breath. It is the silence of a chessboard where every move has been calculated for centuries. Their marriage is a long, slow dance of power, infidelity, and retribution. Tonight, the subject of their silent tension is a woman named Io. Or rather, a creature that used to be a woman named Io. Let us drift back to the meadows of Argos, far below the mountain. Zeus, ever the wanderer, ever the seeker of new affections, had descended from the clouds. He had found Io, a priestess, a maiden of serene beauty. But the sky is never private when Hera is watching. She is the queen of heaven. She sees the shifts in the clouds. She senses the disturbance in the ether. Zeus, sensing the approach of his wife, did something impulsive. In a swirl of divine mist, in a panic of celestial proportions, he transformed Io. He did not turn her into a bird, which might fly away. He did not turn her into a tree, which might blend into the forest. He turned her into a cow, a heifer, snow white, with large, confused eyes and a coat as soft as velvet. Imagine the scene now. Hera descends from the sky. She does not arrive with a scream or a curse. She arrives with a smile. A cold, polite, terrifying smile. She lands in the meadow, her feet touching the grass without bending a single blade. She looks at her husband. She looks at the white cow. She knows. Of course she knows. But on Olympus, the game is played with words, not weapons. What a beautiful animal, Hera says, her voice smooth as polished marble. May I have it as a gift. Zeus is trapped. To refuse her would be to admit his guilt. To give her the cow is to condemn Io. He looks at the cow. The cow looks at him, letting out a low, mournful sound. Ma. Asterisk. It is a sound of confusion, of a human soul trapped in a bovine throat. Zeus, defeated by his own game, nods. He hands the tether to Hera, and here is where the pettiness becomes art. Hera does not kill the cow. That would be too simple. That would be too quick. Instead, she leads the white heifer away. She brings her to a grove of olive trees. a place of shadows and silence. And she calls for a guard. She does not call a soldier. She calls Argus Panoptes. Argus, the all-seeing. Imagine Argus. He is a giant, a being of immense strength. But it is not his size that makes him formidable. It is his eyes. He has 100 eyes. They are scattered across his body, on his head, on his neck, on his shoulders, on his arms. They are like gems, blinking independently. When Argus sleeps, he only closes 2 eyes at a time. The other 98 remain wide open, watching, scanning, observing. He is the ultimate jailer. He is the embodiment of paranoia. Hera leaves Io in the care of Argus. The white cow grazes on the bitter grass. She wanders to the edge of the grove, looking for a way out. But everywhere she turns, she sees an eye, an unblinking, watching eye. There is no privacy. There is no escape. The pettiness of Hera is absolute. She has trapped her rival in a form that cannot speak, guarded by a watcher who never sleeps. But the story does not end in the grove. Zeus, up on his mountain, feels a pang of pity, or perhaps just a bruised ego. He calls for Hermes. Hermes, the messenger, the trickster, the god of boundaries and the god of thieves. Hermes arrives with his winged sandals fluttering softly, like moths against a lantern. Go, Zeus whispers. Free her. Hermes descends. He does not bring a sword. He brings a flute, a set of reed pipes. He approaches the grove where Argus stands watch. The giant sees him coming from a mile away, literally. 50 eyes watch Hermes approach. 50 eyes watch the cow. Hermes sits down on a rock. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and orange. Hermes lifts the pipes to his lips. He begins to play. Listen to the sound of the flute in your mind. It is a high, breathy sound. It is the sound of the wind moving through the reeds of a riverbank. It is a monotonous, repetitive melody. It rises and falls, like the chest of a sleeping child. Toot. Whistle. Mime. Argus listens. At first, he is suspicious. His eyes dart back and forth. But the music is relentless. It is woven with the magic of sleep. It is a lullaby for the weary. Hermes plays on. He plays the song of the heavy eyelids. He plays the song of the setting sun. He plays the song of the long, dark night. Slowly, very slowly, the eyes of Argus begin to close. It starts with the eyes on his legs. They droop. The lids slide down, heavy as lead. Then the eyes on his back. Blink. Blink. Shut. Then the eyes on his shoulders. Hermes keeps playing. He does not rush. He lets the music drift through the air like a heavy fog. He tells stories in a low, droning voice to accompany the music. He tells stories of sheep counting sheep. He tells stories of nothing happening. Argus sways on his feet. The giant sits down. His head nods. The eyes on his face begin to flicker. Open. Close. Open. Close. The struggle is immense, but the fatigue is stronger. Finally, the last eye, the one in the center of his forehead, wavers. It holds out for a moment, staring at the white cow. And then, with a final, heavy sigh, it closes. Argus Panoptes is asleep. All 100 eyes are shut. The world is dark to him. Hermes stops playing. The silence in the grove is profound. In the original myths, this is where violence happens. But for us, let us focus on the aftermath, the transformation. Let us focus on the legacy of this feud. Hera discovers what has happened. She finds her watchman silent. She finds the cow gone. Her anger is a cold fire. But she does not destroy Argus's body. She is a goddess who wastes nothing. She looks at the eyes, the 100 sleeping eyes. They are beautiful in their own way, shimmering, iridescent, filled with the memory of sight. She gathers them up. She calls her favorite bird, the peacock. The bird is plain, brown and unadorned. Hera takes the eyes of Argus, and she places them, one by one, onto the tail feathers of the peacock. Imagine this transformation. The dull feathers burst into color. Emerald green, royal blue, gold. In the center of each feather, an eye appears. A dark pupil surrounded by a ring of iridescent blue, then a ring of gold. The peacock spreads its tail. It is a fan of 100 eyes. It shimmers in the twilight. It rustles with the sound of dry silk. Shh. Sure. Hera smiles. She has lost the cow. Yes. Io will wander the world, eventually returning to human form in Egypt. But Hera has kept the eyes. She has turned her surveillance into art. She has turned her jealousy into one of the most beautiful things in the natural world. Now, whenever you see a peacock spread its tail, you are looking at the ancient, petty feud of Olympus. You are looking at the eyes of the watchman who was lulled to sleep by a flute. You are looking at the vanity of a queen who refused to let a single grievance go to waste. The court of Olympus settles down for the night. The peacock roosts in the high branches of a celestial tree, its tail folded, a cascade of sleeping eyes trailing down towards the clouds. Zeus and Hera retire to their separate chambers, or perhaps they sit together, silent, bound by the eternal, stormy contract of their union. The white cow grazes in a distant field, dreaming of hands and feet, and the music of Hermes still lingers in the air, a faint, drifting tune that invites the world to close its eyes. Just as Argus did, drift on that music now. Let the image of the blue and green feathers fill your mind. The shimmering, hypnotic pattern. The eyes that watch over you, not to trap you, but to ensure that the story continues. The air on the mountain is cool. The stars are bright. The drama sleeps, but it never ends. Leave the high peaks of Olympus now. Let your mind descend from the clouds, floating down through the layers of the atmosphere. past the eagles circling on the thermals, down towards the rocky, sun-baked peninsula of Attica. We are traveling to a specific hill, a flat-topped crag of limestone that rises out of the dry plains. It is the Acropolis. But it is not the Acropolis of the Parthenon and the ruins we see today. It is the Acropolis of the mythical dawn. The stone is bare, hot to the touch, baking under the relentless Mediterranean sun. The city that surrounds this rock has no name. It is a collection of houses, of people waiting, of a destiny not yet written. It is a prize, and two gods